Attention! If you have not watched the previous 2 episodes of the series, check them out first. We covered the top 10 worst bosses of the series, and then some pretty bad ones. Now we're in the category, meaning some of them will start to get pretty damn juicy. Let's start with number 122, a tree monster with an arm protruding out of its pus sacs. Number 122, curse-rotted greatwood. Okay, so like I said, we're in the category of bosses that make me tingle a little bit inside. And that's a good thing. I love the inventiveness of the design with the curse-rotted greatwood and how it requires such a different strategy to fight. And I love the arm, as it adds a new target for you to punish the boss with, but adds more threat to the player and more dangerous attacks. The main things keeping this down are the unnecessary mobs added to the arena. Although the tree god literally smashes them without a single thought, what does this say about our place in the universe? If I stop and think about that for too long, the demons will come back, so let's stay focused. You got this, Dakota. Basically, that and the raining poop that force you to back off the boss keep it lower than it could be. I generally enjoy the fight, but some mechanical issues hold it a little bit back. Number 121, Blue Smelter Demon. I know this breaks the logic I've established in the Nightwalk ranking cinematic universe. It's a reskin and a DLC with one of the most disgusting run-ups I've ever witnessed. We've established that all of this stuff is stuff I hate. And while that's all true, I have to say that when I actually do manage to get through the boss fog, which is very rare, I love fighting Blue Smelter. This is because the regular Smelter Demon is pretty freaking awesome, and I love the blue aesthetic even more. I wish they used this opportunity to change the arena more from the first encounter and perhaps alter the moveset more than adjusting timings, but even with what we got, I can't say I was too upset. It's a fun battle surrounded by stupidity, leaving it at somewhere in the 5 out of 10 range. Number 120, Yorm, the Giant. Okay, we all know Yorm is one of the biggest disappointments in the series, but as a boss, he's not that bad. He could have just been so much more. It's like when you order a pizza and you open it up and it looks delicious, but then you realize it's been sitting for so long it kind of turned room temperature and stale. It's still good, but it's just a lot less than you expected. The cheese of Yorm isn't even gooey with recently melted warmth, meaning this fight is a good taste, but stale. Okay, I don't really like this analogy anymore. If the Storm Ruler did a mechanic more similar to the Serpent Hunter Greatsword or whatever it's called from Elden Ring, this fight would be astronomically better. In that case, you'd have to learn the battle, study Yorm's moves and such, rather than just create distance and unload. He looks so cool, his lore is amazing, I love the build-up, but again, just wish it was more. Number 119, Magma Worm. I think I ranked this boss a little too generously and originally, so I moved it down. Upon revisiting this guy, all he does is... No, I didn't mean that. I meant all he does is slither and slide.
I'm a snake.
There's a somewhat cool phase too, but I hate how he just spams running around the arena with massive hitboxes that accidentally hit me. If he spams his charge move, this fight would be much lower, but everything other than that is pretty okay, putting him at again around a 5 out of 10. Number 118, Dark Sun Gwendolyn. I'm always appreciative when FromSoft tries to do something unique. It definitely doesn't always work. Definitely. But this one kind of does, and it kind of doesn't. It's a very cool concept, and the atmosphere is built masterfully, but the actual mechanics of the fight fall flat. Gwendolyn has like 3 moves. I wish there was more. I like the cover that you can take throughout the chase, I guess, and how you can sometimes manipulate his AI to get a few extra hits in. Overall, Number 117, Aldia, Scholar of the First Sin. Dark Souls 2's ending part 3 is probably the worst of the 3 fights. I do appreciate the Aldia voice actor, and some of the attacks are actually visually compelling. The theme is one of my favorites in Dark Souls 2, and there are some cool and unique mechanics. I just really can't stand how the boss doesn't let you attack him for so long. For all the complaints about Elden Beast, I found myself regularly getting hits in any time I wanted to with that boss. Yet every time I face Aldia, I end up standing around waiting for the boss while he isn't even attacking. It just sits there, and I can't do anything. Overall, if they tuned some of the waiting mechanic out, this fight would be a lot better, but for now, it's pretty good. FromSoft, we need to talk. Let me tell you a secret. You know how you're trying to reinvent the wheel with every gang fight? Well, there's this little thing you did. It was in Dark Souls 1. It was called Ornstein and Smo. And it did alright. Varied enemy size and speed, pillars for crowd control. It's all you need. These enemies look like they have drastically varied speeds, but they really don't. Watcher and Defender are slightly different, but it's kind of more like Godskin Duo, where they should have different speeds, but for some reason, the devs decided the bigger one is also going to be relatively fast. Okay, but it's not nearly as bad as Godskin Duo, as they both don't spam ranged attacks, and the resurrect mechanic can be played around by whittling down the HP at similar rates. But it's unfortunate that they didn't just look to their past successes to make this fight even better. It's not bad, but it does make me start twitching every time I think about the amount of stupid choices put into this game for no reason. Number 115, Mytha, the Baneful Queen. Mytha is really cool visually, and even her fight is okay, but that poison is booty ass. Why do we have to burn a metal windmill to make the poison go away? That doesn't make sense on like 8 different levels. There's not that much to say about this boss. She's a boss. She's pretty fun. Number 114, High Lord Wolnir. Talk about a perfect boss to farm reactions from streamers on. Every time I suggest a friend of mine to play Dark Souls, I'm waiting for the moment they stumble upon High Lord Wolnir. It's like the video game equivalent of putting a snake in a can. Do you guys remember those? No? Only me? Alright, I guess I'm too old. You could have at least lied to make me feel better about myself. Come on, guys. Anyways, I don't really mind the fight itself either, even beyond the spectacle of it all. On my first playthrough, I had a severely underleveled weapon at this point in the game, and I found it really difficult to destroy the bracelets. Because of this, Wolnir summoned countless enemies and engaged in massive attack pools. Nowadays, he barely does anything because I know how to send him plummeting to his fearful fate. And I love the varied experience you can have as a veteran versus new player. I'm also obsessed with his lore, and overall, he's a really cool boss. I just hate the damn poison. What is with the stupid poison clouds in these games? Who plays a game and is like, yes, I want a toxic cloud that insta-kills me if I touch it? I suppose it fits thematically, like sort of, but why not just ditch the lame stuff and stick to the cool stuff, like massive skeleton lords and shoving hands up pigs' butts? Number 113, Scorpioness Najka. One of the many times Dark Souls 2 says, hey, remember Dark Souls 1? But instead of one-upping the boss, they one-down it. I do love the digging mechanic, which requires you to thoughtfully position yourself in the ruins to avoid ruin, but it does leave a lot to be desired in comparison to the OG. There's also cool mechanics with cutting off her tails, and her grab is pretty cool, so it's not all bad. Number 112, Old Iron King. You know what's dog shit? Dog shit. You know what else is dog shit? Gravity. F you, Gravity! You know what else is dog shit though? The run back to this boss. Why won't this turtle guy back the f up? I would starve myself if it meant losing a couple pounds and being able to slide past this asshole without killing him every time. And if you die to this boss by falling in the tiny hole in the arena, you have to do it all again. I hate it. Anyways, the boss itself is like a way cooler version of Ceaseless Discharge, and although it's almost laughably easy, it's deserved for how challenging the run back is. I like this fight a lot, even though there's an entire poop platter surrounding it. The presentation is pretty amazing too. Number 111, Godskin Noble. I guess my main problem with Mr. Rotundo is the fact that he's attached to one of the worst fights in the series, and he never leaves me alone. He appears in the Godskin Duo battle more than once if you kill him, then in caves, then in Volcano Manor, then in the Divine Tower Bridge. Like, leave me alone, man! And then when you try to use Stranger Danger and just back off, he rolls all over you. His rapier provides some unique Souls combat, which is fun I suppose, but he has arena-wide thrusts that can be nearly impossible to time due to their speed. I don't think he's necessarily bad, which is why he's up here, but I don't really have fun with him. Number 110, Taurus Demon. Taurus Demon is basically Asylum Demon 2. He has similar slow windups and big hitboxes, but it's a cooler arena and you have to kill the archers first. But the arena can also be quite frustrating as you're fighting a massive demon on a tiny bridge. I give props for the ability to use a plunging attack on him, and even bigger props for the fact that he can jump up to meet you atop the tower. God, that was terrifying the first time it happened to me. Like, how does he manage to bring all 8,000 pounds of him 50 feet into the air? No idea, but it scared me. Anyways, it's a pretty cool setting, a pretty lame moveset with some really cool, unique boss mechanics. Number 109, Asylum Demon. Well, yeah, it's basically Taurus Demon. Asylum Demon gets a big boost though for being a quite iconic first boss. I love that you face him when you can't really beat him, but then get the upper hand with a plunging attack. I'm gonna be honest though, kinda underwhelming overall. People hype this guy up a lot, and maybe it's the giant ass. I know giant ass is in right now, but this just looks ridiculous. Like, he's got 9 BBLs. I hate his visual design in some ways, and although it's symbolic of that Dark Souls 1 jank that people have come to know and love, I kinda just think it looks silly. Listen,
Magicat
already did top 10 Souls booties. If you want that, go there, okay? Number 108, Mimic Tier. While this is an awesome idea and it's executed alright, it does leave a lot to be desired. I know I'm handsome, strong, the unquestionable pinnacle of human domination, so a clone should theoretically be my toughest challenge yet, but this is more like a dollar store version. It breaks under a little bit of stress testing, but that doesn't mean it's not fun as hell to fight. Number 107, Gaping Dragon. Let's get this out of the way. Screw the guy that shoots you from outside the boss arena. Of all the ways to make the fight harder, why this one? Every time I try to rush through this game again, I forgot to kill him, and it makes this fight just a slog. And yeah, this fight can feel like one, with the dragon rampaging around aimlessly, making every single movement a hitbox, and a girthy ass health bar. This fight can last a long time. It's still a super memorable battle, and I love that intro cutscene. I do enjoy it overall, but it's dated and a long battle that could use some tune-ups to say the least. Number 106, The Rotten. We're starting to get in the category of bosses that I genuinely really like, even if they still have some problems. I would personally argue that the Rotten is one of the most underrated of the series, even if my placement betrays that statement. It might be 106 of the 162 I'm rating, but that just goes to show how much I love the bosses in the series. You can chop his arm off and he'll grow back another one. Man, I wish I had that power. I wonder what it feels like to grow an arm back. If Harry Potter is any roadmap, just the bones is super painful. But since this guy has like 50 different bodies all pulled together, is there a central brain that feels the pain? Or, okay, let's get out of the logistics here. He's got surprisingly dynamic combat and a pretty cool arena to boot. I don't know, I like him quite a bit. Number 105, Executioner's Chariot. Like I said, we're in the bosses where I'd give at least a 6 out of 10. I try to dissociate the runbacks from the bosses, but as with Ludden, it's hard to not have it impact the outcome a bit here. Because this boss is more of a level hazard / puzzle boss, I feel like it's fair to at least partially include the runback, and it's ass. Mega ass. As for the boss itself, it's pretty inventive. It's got some really cool, unique concepts. I just wish the actual horse at the end put up any sort of real fight, or was a real boss, or did anything other than kick. Figuring it out for the first time was really fun, and it's satisfying rolling through the spiked wheels. The resurrecting skeletons are a bit much, but it's not too bad. Very cool, Dark Souls 2. Number 104, Seath the Scaleless. For a guy you spend half the fight clipping on, I think Seath is pretty cool. He has a Lord Soul, but I could count how many times I've died to him with one finger, and that's kinda underwhelming. His boss fight can feel kinda lazy mechanically, as it's sort of a glorified version of Ring Around the Rosie. I think his entrance, arena, sound design, and general atmosphere are what make him so enjoyable, rather than intricate attack patterns or emotional lore. It's brutally satisfying to get hits in, because it feels like you're smashing glass, and it always will be. Number 103, Nishandra. As a final boss, Nishandra is about as disappointing as a free ice cream day with the only flavor being licorice. I'm sure some people would like it, but most of us are left feeling like, this is seriously the best you've got? It's not all bad though. While it's basically a run-of-the-mill Dark Souls 2 mid-tier boss, she has a sick visual design along with a chilling cutscene to match, although the black bars cut off her own head. This solidifies that they added these bars later into the development cycle for not really any reason. The curse mechanic isn't too frustrating, and it's not hard or easy, it's not bad or great, but it's pretty decent. Just as a final boss, it's extremely underwhelming. Number 102, Crossbreed Priscilla. Priscilla is a mediocre boss with a really unique and cool mechanic. Invisibility. Putting her in a snowy arena in which you can spot the footprints makes me feel like a violent Sherlock Holmes, and I can't help it but love the atmosphere of Ariamis. The fact that you can bypass the fight entirely by escaping the painting through the rear, like a fart in the wind, adds to the weight of the fight, as you know, all she wants is to be left alone. The problem is, outside of the invisibility and setup, there really isn't much here. It's cool, interesting, and fun, but not really deep mechanically at all. Number 101, Celestial Emissary. I can't really defend this. All I can say is mowing these guys down is the most satisfying culmination of the Bloodborne combat for me for some stupid reason. I don't know why, but every time my Saw Cleaver connects in one of the Blue Man group members, 10 lives are saved, a baby is born, and I can't stop smiling. I cannot really rationalize this placement, other than say I can't think of a super unbelievably easy joke boss that I have more fun with. It's like the Deacons, but for some reason, infinitely more enjoyable. Number 100, Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. Now this is one that I've drawn back and forth on like 1.5 billion times. On the one hand, the reveal of Aldrich eating Gwendolyn slowly brings disgusting, horrifying images to light in the best way possible. Then he spams the arrow attack and it's disgusting and horrifying for all the wrong reasons. Then you realize the soundtrack is a perversion of Gwendolyn's theme, adding even more to the atmosphere. Then he has homing fairy dust that won't back Then you remember you're in a twisted Anor Londo, battling the downfall of everything that was once glorious about this city. Then he constantly teleports and leaves huge AoE damage behind every time. While I love aspects of this boss, I hate some of the others. I've gone from having him at a 3 out of 10 at some points to an 8 out of 10 at others. For now, a 6 out of 10 suffices, but I could see my mind changing in the future. As far as caster bosses go, this is definitely on the better side, and there are a million reasons why, but some of the attacks are super ass and can randomly one-shot you. Number 99, Flexile Sentry. Flexile Sentry is one of the coolest ideas FromSoft has ever had, and it ends up okay. You can choose how to approach this boss, literally, as in from one side or the other, and get vastly different experiences each side. One is quick and the other is more damaging. I love how the fight is on a timer and you have to beat it before the water levels rise too high. I've seen some people say that they've never had the water rise much before, but if you come here early, it can definitely sneak up on you. Then remember you're fighting him on a ghost ship. Now that's a cool backdrop. The fight falls flat on the depth of the actual fight itself. There's a ton of cool ideas here and it's pretty awesome overall, but not that engaging when you're actually in the trenches battling it out. Number 98, Godfrey, First Elden Lord. Inferior versions of repeated bosses won't ever place too highly. As opposed to other reskins such as Great Shinobi Owl to Owl Father, there isn't a mechanical difference that's too notable here, just the reduction in moveset and visual desaturation. There isn't really a cool context to be battling a spectral lord, it kinda just happens out of nowhere. I will say I love fighting Godfrey, so this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and the OST is one of my favorites in the entire game. Just overall, it doesn't live up to the title of Elden Lord. Number 97, Emma, the Gentle Blade. This one is kind of the exact opposite of the last one. There is so much context to your battle with Emma, as she is the one who's been helping you along on your entire journey. The battle sees you betraying your lady and turning to the dark side. Vader would be proud. I actually don't enjoy this fight at all. While the narrative is amazing, the setting is amazing, and the context overall is amazing, the combat kind of pisses me off. I hate the grab, I hate how tiny Emma is and how much ground she can cover so quickly. She's harder to follow because of her size, and there's other problems too. But like I said, this is the antonym to the last fight, which was all mechanics. I'm glad this fight exists, but it's not one I'm ever going to actively seek out. Number 96, Leonine Misbegotten. While this chimera-looking thing is repeated over and over throughout the game, the first main fight in the Morn Castle shores created a distinct setting, only similarly replicated with Orphan of Kos. Of course, the difficulty and horror isn't there in this bout, but the aggression and melancholic and moody, beautiful backdrop are. It was surprisingly one of the most memorable battles of the game for me, despite it being forgettable to the average player. Or so it seems. I like his non-stop aggression that is tempered only by your ability to stagger, setting the stage for the varied combat Elden Ring leans heavily into. Number 95, Flying Dragon Akil. While I'm not going to argue this boss is at all in contention for the best dragon fight of the series, I think the generic flying dragon enemy of Elden Ring is done pretty well, especially Akil. This is because it leans heavily into teaching you the horseback mechanics of Elden Ring, while providing a visual set piece far surpassing the typical non-DLC dragon fights. I loved jumping on Torrent to chase him down, only to hop off as I approached to plummet my sword deep into his scales. Number 94, Sir Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. Gideon is the embodiment of feast or famine. You can one-shot the old man before he does much if you can close the distance and start wailing on him, or he can one-shot you with his endless magic spam if you give him the time. I love how depending on what information he's learned and bosses you've killed, he'll have a varied moveset. This means that every playthrough will be unique, and meeting him atop the city was a narrative surprise. I enjoyed the battle and the context surrounding it, but it can be a bit spammy for my taste. Number 93, Champion's Gravetender. Alright, let's get this part out of the way. The first part of this fight sucks. The second part is awesome. It's like Vort but on steroids, meaning you have to time your dodges through the flailing wolf flawlessly. It's exhilarating and fast-paced, and the arena is stunning. Perhaps one of the best visual looks in the series. Unfortunately, the first half of the fight pulls down what really could have been an awesome boss. Why gank NPC fight for one of the two in a DLC? This is just a bonkers blunder on FromSoft's part. Number 92, Velstadt, the Royal Aegis. While Velstadt is really cool, he's still kind of a big guy in armor with a big weapon moving at Dark Souls 2 speed. He's one of the best of the Dark Souls 2 fights that do this though, as the fight moves fluidly and intently. I enjoyed the battle, although I hate Dark Souls 2's hyper armor. Why is it that when the boss misses an attack or something, that they get rewarded for being punished? I hate that system, but Felstat is kind of a boss. Well, he's literally a boss, but I mean, he's a boss of a character, so I'll give him a pass. I do enjoy the battle, but it could be better. That is all. This was part 3 of the series, so be sure to check out the other parts to subscribe to keep up to date in the series, and keep on keeping on. Peace.